Hey Dad, what's a boner?
What is up? It is your boy Gregorio, the quarantine sex machine, coming at you from my home. Anyway, I wanted to get into it today. First off, you'll see a new look. Got faded and X-rated by Alan over at Twins Barbershop on 19th and Greenway, 19th Avenue and Greenway here in the Phoenix area. I just wanted to show some respect. Those people, I've never got a bad barber there. So if you are in the Phoenix area and you want to get faded up, get cut up good, hit up Twins Barbershop. They have two spots, one on 19th and Greenway and one off Thunderbird. So take that how you want it and, go get yourself a haircut. Anyway, today on the podcast, I wanted to talk about sex, baby. And how you're gonna talk to your kids, or how I'm gonna talk to my kids about this subject. I know when I was growing up, I didn't have it really relayed to me directly. I think the whole subject of sex was relayed through my peers, through people. When I think I started getting more involved in it, that type of stuff, when I was, fifth grade. Going over to a buddy's house and watching, staying up a little bit past the bedtime and watching Showtime or Skinamax. And I remember getting excited, wanting to go over to his house again and maybe again. And I feel like that was how I learned about it more. I guess there was some classes in school, but that wasn't until I was a bit older, that taught you the whole biology of it. But they didn't really go into anything else that had to do with sex. More of the real shit, the feelings, like how, maybe after you have your first sexual partner, you're gonna have your first heartbreak potentially. How, how really to be safe about it, and not feel like a dork, or being like, ruining the mood by being like, hey, break away, I need to put on, the condom, or, things like that. So they didn't really get into the real. I think, I'm not saying, the Skinamax and the Showtime and hearing it from buddies were real, but, you got to find that happy medium. So I think with me, when my son gets old enough, I don't think I'm gonna talk to my daughter about it. It might be, a little sexist. Might be, you guys might hate on me for that, but I'll have my wife do that. If I was a single dad, potentially, but I'd still probably have my mom or, one of my other female family members take that dive for me. But my son, I'm definitely gonna talk to him. I could already see him. He's only 5 going on 6. I definitely wasn't the most cautious parent with stuff that we watched when he was growing up. But I just, I tried to shelter him a little bit from that. But also, it's first time being a parent. I don't want to continue watching, kids shows all the time. So I, put him in my arms and would cover his eyes whenever there was something, bad that was going on. And I don't know. It probably plays into how he is with his TV shows and stuff right now. I think I mentioned on a previous podcast he doesn't enjoy cartoons or anything like that. He's more into the shows that are for kids that are a little bit older, and he likes them. From what I've heard, he likes them because the girls are hot. I guess he's maybe growing up a little bit too fast in that realm, but hey, it is what it is. You live and you learn. But I think with him, I gotta sit him down. Probably, middle school, something like that. I don't know when kids are having sex. Are they having sex in middle school now? I have seen stuff where teachers are banging their middle school students, which is pretty fucked up. But I actually see that more and more. We saw that more and more often. It's the female teachers too that are jumping their male students' bones. And it's crazy how how much that's happening. Maybe, when I was growing up, I grew up I think I had a cell phone when I was 16, and it was like a big brick Nokia cell phone. So we obviously didn't have all this. We didn't have, we didn't all just have so much access to the internet, or if we did, we just didn't care that much about it. The news wasn't as prevalent. So maybe it was still happening, and people just either didn't get caught, or the news just wasn't blasting it out, or news outlets, because there's so many now. But I don't know. I've definitely seen it a lot more now, and now that we have access to all that. Excuse me. So, yeah. So I mean, like 13, maybe. I'll start kind of having that conversation with him. I'm sure I'm gonna walk in on him jerking off. I've already walked in on him with like raging boners, and he tries to hide it a little bit, and then he starts laughing, which to me kills me. But it's funny because he'll get like a little rock solid 5-year-old boner, and he'll be chilling in our bed when we're watching something, and he starts laughing about it, and we have to be like, yo, Joe, go and do that in your room. If you're gonna talk about your boner or something like that, or start looking at it, go and do that in your room. That's your private time. Go do it out there. So again, catching him jerking off, I'll probably have that conversation when he's about 13. Talk to him, real. Talk to him like his dad, but also talk to him real. Tell him, things about sex, potentially about my sexual experiences, not with his mother, but when I was growing up and things like that, when I first lost my virginity, and hopefully he'll respect me a lot more and understand, and maybe not be so. Well, he definitely won't be as naive, but he'll also be a little bit more understanding. Not understanding. He'll be more comfortable with telling me about things, more comfortable about the situations that he's in. And that's what I want for him. I want him to be smart. I want him to be safe. I don't want him to be having kids when he's, underage and not able to take care of them. Because I'll tell you what, if he has a kid and brings a kid home, I'm not going to be the grandparent that fully takes care of him. And though I can say that obviously now, because I'm not in that situation, but I really want to hold true to that. I want my kids to be completely independent, by the time they're, 18, 19. I'll give them a year buffer, I think. And then, I want you to go out on adventures. I want them to take this world by storm. I want them to do all the things right that I did wrong. And I don't want them staying in one place. If we stay in Arizona and they grow up here, I want them to venture out. It doesn't have to be far. I'm from New Mexico. I lived up in Seattle, and then I moved down here to Arizona. It's close enough to my family, but it's also far enough away from my family where, I don't have to attend every event. My family's big too. I got, I don't know. My mom's got 9 brothers and sisters, and, they have kids and their kids have kids. And so we just have a lot of stuff going on, and most of them still stayed in New Mexico. I think I have a few outliers that are out there, but we don't speak much. So, I'm sure everybody, when you have a family that big, there's a lot of people you don't speak to. You gravitate towards a few of them, and then the rest of them are there. You pray for them, you hope that they're doing well, but, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It makes me sad because I'm a lover. I care about all the people that are close to me. I care about family, family first for sure. But yeah, and if you're all out there listening to this, I have a couple people in my family that are going through chemo for cancer. So if you want to throw some prayers out my way, pray for D Steele and pray for my auntie Loretta Rayel. Both of them, if you are religious, or if you get down and pray every night, throw them in your prayers. Because anybody that's battling cancer, if you know anybody that's battled cancer, they need those prayers. So not going to speak about religion or anything like that, but if you are religious, please send them those prayers. Speaking on the sex thing, me and my wife just watched a movie on Netflix that's getting some, it's on like the top list, and it's called 365. It definitely shouldn't be, because the movie's a big piece of shit. It kind of draws you in at the beginning, So you'll be like, oh man, this is gonna be like a legit movie. So it's probably a good movie if you were into those Skinamax flicks or those Showtime, After Dark, because that's pretty much what it is. It even got a little worse on some of the parts. Like literally, you start with the beginning, good 15 minutes, and then it goes right to like a blowjob shot, and you can almost see the dude's dick. I was like, I had to rewind it a few times to be like, is that his dick? Like you could see his dick in there. So, and then it just was like this, just a dude getting blowjobs a bunch, and then chasing this chick around and pretty much trying to bang her, and then she was naked a bunch of times, and it was just this fucking runaround. And the movie sucked, the ending sucked, so I don't recommend it at all. I think Netflix, you got it wrong on this one. Both show. So anyway, tonight also was a big fight card. I forgot to mention that. I watched Stipe Miocic retain his heavyweight title against Daniel Cormier. And it's tough because Daniel Cormier, I hope I'm saying his name right. Cormier, I don't know. But he is one of the best fighters, one of the greatest mixed martial artists. And he's like 41, and this is supposed to be his retirement fight. He was trying to go out on top. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. But it was a good fight. Went all 5 rounds. Dude's heavyweight, so that doesn't normally happen with those small gloves. But these guys were piecing each other up, and it was awesome. Unfortunately, our boy from the Phoenix area, Sugar Sean O'Malley, lost to Chito Vera, and he actually got hurt. Something happened to his ankle or his knee. He rolled it pretty hard, couldn't get up after the fight. And that was his first L too. He lost his O, and now he's got 1 loss. I'm sure he'll come back stronger. He has a booming right hand, so I hope to see him again. He dropped probably out of the rankings, but I'm sure he'll be back. Like I said, stronger than ever. Dude is tough. From what I see. Obviously, I'm not in there. Never been in there, but. I mean, if you can go almost the whole round with a broken foot or broken ankle or knee, something like that, then you're a tough motherfucker. Yeah, so that was my night. That and, just chilling with my daughter, chilling with my son for a bit. Mom was out shopping, doing what she does, spending money. But no, she was good. I think she probably hit up Target and bought more shit than we need. Anyway, so again, I veered off that subject, but I think just with so much access to everything, these kids are going to learn a lot of stuff beforehand. Obviously, there's access to porn everywhere. There's access to movies. I try to put child restrictions on a lot of different things, but they're going to be able to get it once they get old enough. They're going to friends' houses whose parents are a little bit more relaxed. And they're going to do it. I don't have any false expectations of that. I just hope that at the end of the day, after I have a conversation with him or, that he'll come to me. He'll want to talk to me about this kind of stuff. He'll want to, confide in me if something happens. Because God forbid he did, get someone pregnant or, thinks about that. I'd want to be the first one to know. And I want him to feel comfortable with telling me. Even though he knows my reaction, I'm probably going to be a little bit pissed off. But, I'll respect him a lot more as a man if he were to come to me if something like that happened. Accidents happen, I guess. Sometimes the accidents, in a lot of cases with children, accidents can be the most beautiful thing, but you just don't want to do it too early. Life's harder. I feel like the 30 is the new 20 now, so if you're anything under 30 or late 20s having kids, it's going to be rough out there. You need to have your college degree. You need to a college degree is pretty much equivalent to what a high school degree is nowadays. So you got to have that. You got to be able to support yourself. You got to understand work ethic. You got to understand how to manage your finances, and that's what we're going to segue into that. So after the sex thing, we're gonna leave that alone for right now because I know how I'm gonna handle it. Feel free to DM me. Go to @FlockingFathers on Instagram. You could do @FlockingFathers on Twitter, or you could hit me up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Flocking Fathers. I'm probably most active on the Facebook and Instagram. So hit me up on one of those and DM me and tell me the situations that you've had to deal with, how you plan on dealing with it, and maybe even if you don't have kids, maybe how your parents dealt with it with you, if they were understanding, if they made you feel uncomfortable and you couldn't talk to them. I know my children are going to hold a lot of things back from me, but I hope they don't hold the important things. I definitely have a temper. I definitely fly off the handle at times, but every time I've flown off the handle, I did it with my son tonight. He ran in, he's so loud, he has, his voice just projects. I actually get worried that he can't hear, or his ears are bad because he talks so loud. And I'm hoping, and you guys could get at me with this, that he's 5 and he just doesn't know how to control, his voice. But anyway, he came in screaming, "Dad, Dad!" And he woke up my daughter, and I just put her to bed, and I was just trying to watch the fights, and he fucking woke her up, and I was pissed. So I yelled at him. He ran to his room, and then he came back. I had to call him back because I knew that my reaction was so shitty. And he didn't deserve that, and the way that he looked at me when I called him back to apologize, you could realize that he appreciated it, but it was also just I felt so bad because I saw it in his face that he didn't do anything that wrong. All he did was want to talk to me, and I just flipped out because, sometimes I do that. We're fucking parents. That shit happens. I'm not gonna, I'll never say that I'm perfect, and I don't even say that I'm a good parent at times, but time will tell. I think I'm going to lead him in a good direction, and he's going to thank me in the end. Anyway, into the finances. So I want my kids to be pretty self-sufficient as they get older. I personally think that in high school nowadays, they need to teach finance because, and a finance class real world finance. Stuff that are going to show you how to, nobody uses a checkbook really anymore, but show you how to, read your statements and understand your debits and credits and understand that you need to make more than you put out. I guess they could still teach you how to write a check, but, how to go get money orders, how to, the cashier's checks, starting checking accounts. Maybe even in that class, you start your first checking account. They make you bring, whatever it is to start a checking account, $100. And they make you bring, pay $100 and shit like that for field trips sometimes. So they make you bring that in. They have someone from the bank come in and he starts everybody in there a checking account. That would help the bank, Wells Fargo. If you guys start to do this and you're listening to this, it was my idea. Anyway, they get their checking accounts, they get their savings accounts, they understand, the transfer process, they understand how long it takes for stuff to post in a lot of cases, so just because they see it in their account doesn't mean that the money's actually there. It could have already been spent. Understanding how to go through a lease and get an apartment or get a condo, understanding how to buy a house, going through all this process. And I think in a semester you could find a ton of different finance stuff to be able to understand. I think when you go to finance classes in high school and college, it's a lot of understanding balance sheets and cash flow statements, stuff. And if you're not a finance person, you probably don't even know what the fuck those are. So it's that's the thing, is you don't need all that a lot of times. And a lot of people don't need that in whatever direction they're going. Maybe if you're an accounting, finance, economics major, you can, but you don't need it in a lot of cases. So they need something like that. For myself, with my children, I have already started with Joey, paying him for things, paying him for chores that he does, and understanding that taxes, like things like taking I'm paying him $2, but I need to take that 50 cents away for taxes. So he doesn't fully understand it or get it right now, but that's what I'm trying to teach him. I'm trying to get him that. I'm trying to help him with you know, with understanding the value of money, understanding, the dollar amount on the bills. But he's 5, 6. He's just learning, to count to 100. With his class, he's learning his, ABCs, and doesn't even know how to read yet. But I'm trying to plant those seeds so that when he grows up, he has those. Even when maybe this, like, one of those classes will come to fruition, and he'll do a lot better in it than a lot of other kids. But when I was younger, my mom was really good about that, and I think it's because they weren't fully good with their money when I was growing up. So, when I got into high school, my mom got me it was an ATM card, because we didn't have debit cards at the time. The only Visas and stuff you used were credit cards. So I had an ATM card. I started working when I was 13, selling slang and papers on the corner in, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Big shout out to the New Mexican, which is the place that hired me. It's the newspaper in I think it's still a newspaper in Santa Fe. I could be wrong, but if there's even, I don't know if even people buy newspapers anymore, unless you're a boomer. But anyway, so shout out to them. I would take money, put it in an account, and my mom helped me out with the ATM. She made me understand, like, you can't pull out more money than you have in there. Here's a checking in a savings account. You just start putting money away in a savings account. And by no means am I a finance wizard when it comes to that. By no means have I not made my mistake. But I could tell you this: in all the years I've had a bank account, I've maybe overdrafted once, and it was a huge mistake as far as like the bank and certain things go. So I'm pretty good with maintaining that. I'm not saying I have money in there all the time, or stuff. I'm not wealthy enough to manage that amount of money, but I try to keep everything under wraps. Now, I never really use credit cards, but now that I'm an adult, I try to I use them not only to just to facilitate like spending stuff, but to also build my credit. And that's another thing they need to teach kids about: building and losing your credit, paying certain bills, making sure that your bills are paid so that your credit isn't fucked up, so that you could lease or buy a car, buy a home. A lot of people don't know that shit. A lot of adults don't know that shit because they were never taught it when they were young. And they'll go through and fuck their credit up and expect to get home loans, and just, I don't know, it's pretty wild how many people I've talked to that they have those issues. But I digress. So from there, I think I mentioned this earlier, or maybe in an earlier podcast. When my children I'm going to give them probably a year buffer. And I know everybody's like, well, you could say that, but what's going to happen when they don't get a job, or they don't want to do anything like that? Well, I hope my children, and I'm going to try to work with them, get jobs when they're in high school. 15, I mean, it's either going to be jobs or sports, or both, to be honest. If you can manage both, you're going to be able to manage a lot when you get into college as well, because it's going to be a lot harder than high school, and you're going to have to manage it. Even if I get to the point of wealth that I want to get, I don't think I will facilitate my children's spending habits when they get out of my house. I think that they're gonna have to learn the hard way. They could ask me any questions. I will obviously help them out if they were in dire need. They'll always have a home to come back to for short amount of time till they get back on their feet. But by no means am I going to have a fucking 30-year-old kid living in my house. Not going to happen. Even 25, I say fuck. After you're 21, it's a little bit too late, unless you've had some bad shit happen to you. And I have in my life. I think when I was 25, I didn't move back in with my parents, but I was pretty close, because I was just kind of lost, had lost a job, was, hard up finding a job, and, I almost came to that. I didn't have to do it, but thankfully, I was able to, find a job here in Phoenix and move back. But it was, it was pretty close. And that's a fucking uncomfortable feeling to be in, a position to be in. And I was, completely uncomfortable. I felt like such a burden. And I think you start feeling like that when you start taking care of yourself more and you grow up out of that. My grandma and grandpa let my dad and his siblings go back with them multiple times, and they didn't bring anything to the table really. So I don't know if my grandparents. My grandparents were very Hispanic, Mexican, and family's everything. So maybe they were either making up for not being the greatest parents when their kids were younger, or they just had such huge hearts. My grandpa was kind of a dick. I loved him to death and he loved his grandchildren, but I saw him wow out a few times, and he was kind of a dick. He was actually a former police captain in Santa Fe, and so he still had that, and he was also a soldier, so he just had that in him. He didn't take any shit, but for some reason, just my grandma would talk him into letting the kids back, and they stayed there, doing whatever shit that they did, that they would have probably been doing on the streets, I guess, if they weren't at my grandparents' house. And that's probably the way that they looked at it. I hope my kids are never in that position. I felt good about my life because I saw a lot of that bad shit and didn't ever want to be like that. I was the type of person that wanted to prove people wrong. But anyway, so sorry, throat's getting a little dry. My kid is gonna know, both my children are going to know finances, and they're gonna know how to manage their finances because I want them to, because I'm going to, because they're gonna be on their own pretty close to when they're getting out of school and to college, and I want them to not feel helpless. I want them to understand even more than I understood. So I hope all you parents are, listening to this and understanding, and taking something away from this. And please, again, feel free to comment. This is all opinion based. I am not a professional in any type of child development. I don't have any degrees or anything in that. So this is all opinion based. This is me and how I'm probably going to handle the situation. And hopefully it is the case, and hopefully all the shit I'm spouting is just not a bunch of bullshit. I'm sure it'll, swerve in and out here and there, but I do have certain things and ways that I want to raise my children in mind, and people probably aren't going to convince me otherwise. But I do accept criticisms, I do accept comments, and I do accept suggestions all the time. So please feel free to hit me up, again, at Flocking Fathers on Instagram, the Flocking Fathers or Flocking Fathers on Facebook, and at Flocking Fathers on Twitter. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Please share it with your friends and family, or share it on your page. It's going to be on SoundCloud. I'm going to try to get it on Spotify, and I will throw it up on YouTube with a video. So if you want to see my ugly mug and see what I look like, or if you're just one of those people that likes to visually see somebody like me, I go to YouTube and I like watching some of the favorite podcasts. I like The Fighter and the Kid, obviously the Joe Rogan podcast. I like Tiger Belly, a lot of the comedian-based podcasts. So if you haven't listened to some of those, definitely check them out. They're hilarious, and they got a lot of good guests and stuff on. So